that I've got the image, you don't have to wait too long. Like I can always go back and look at the VOD. True.
Yep, we're ready to go.
John, see if you can stream on Discord, because I want to go with your piece. No.
Sure, let me get that.
Alright, hello everyone tuning in. Are we live? Alright, hello everyone. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Alright, so let's see. I'm super excited to do the stream with you. Let us get started.
Okay, so let's begin, shall we? So, welcome everyone that's come. This is going to be one of the main events that we're starting for our Helter Skelter tournament. Today we're going to be showing the randomizations for this tournament, since as you know this tournament is all about random stuff. Random civs, random maps, you get the point. Everything's random, and that's the way we like it. So here we go. Let's begin, shall we? I will bring you to our randomizer, and we will see what civs and maps the teams will be getting in each of the matches. Yep, from here you can see the access the randomizer in this spot. And from here we can see all the different teams and the civilizations that they selected.
I gotta chime in here. Philetti's super excited for these teams. As you can see, we got Ezad and Julian K, very strong players, either 1v1 or team. We've got Frontline and Optimus, same goes for them. We got Pit and Chef Sudis. Originally it was supposed to be Kanisi, but Kanisi's got some life goals going on, so Sudis stepped in. One Frenchman for the other, as we say. And now they form a pretty powerful duo as well. Then you've got Ungers and Minimalt. Everyone's heard of Minimalt, and everyone has started to hear of Ungers as well in the last few years. And then, of course, King of Osmane and Keister. They just actually, a lot of these players just wrapped up Enki's amazing tournament, so they're pretty hot. They're pretty ready to go, and this tournament is just going to be great. For folks watching, as you can tell, these are their choices. So this is a combined team map pool for both players. And if you can't tell, Ottoman shows up 4 out of 5 times. And, you know, France shows up in every single map pool. And do you notice any other interesting patterns for Websy with the Civ choices?
Yeah, everyone wanted to train unstoppable Strelitzes with the Russian Civ, it looks like.
Exactly. And we do see Sweden, we do see USA. I mean, we see a lot of Civs. I don't know if we see a ton of diversity per se, but let's be honest, there's 22 Civs in the game. And considering there's not multiple 5-ofs of certain Civs, only twice maybe, it's a pretty good pool. One choice that really surprised me is double Lakota by Ungers and Mini and Keister and King. I mean, we know Keister loves his Lakota, but I did not expect Lakota to be a second pick. Any of these surprise you?
Honestly, between all of them, I would say probably the, I'm actually pretty surprised there's only one Mexico in here. Because if it's going to be a 2v2, you can do a lot of crazy stuff with the Mexican revolts between Baja California, Central America, Texas. I've seen a lot of those lately, so I'm pretty shocked nobody's tapped into that a lot.
And honestly, one of the biggest shockers is only one team Civ picked British, Frontline and Optimus. And Brits are pretty strong, whether you go 1v1 or team. I mean, just because, like, their Civ bonus is probably the most immediately relevant, right?
Oh yeah.
Hello, Shane. We got a viewer. How do I sign up for any tourneys or BS7s? I'm interested. So, Take, we would love to have you for a Royal Rumble. I'll be in touch with you, don't worry. In terms of this tournament, this was invite only, but later this year we'll probably host another team tournament, so be on the lookout for that. It will be public sign up, so anyone can sign up. So anyways, let's keep going. In terms of this tournament, let's see if you want to take us away.
Yep, so let's move on to our next step, the randomizer itself. So this wonderful tool here is basically going to show us between all the teams facing off what wonderful civs and maps they will actually be using in these matches. And we'll be going from top to bottom so everybody can see what civs will be facing off, and you already sort of get an idea of what maybe might we expect or not expect. So let's begin with Team A and Team B. And the way this works is pretty simple. Once you lock and load your teams, you can press this wonderful button over here. And now you can see, the civilizations and the map put together. So Great Plains, Aztecs and Ottomans versus USA and France. So, yep, and then that's the way it works for the rest of them. So if we press this again, reveal game 2, you get Germany and France on Dakota, or as we call it in Wars of Liberty, Mendocino, versus the Swedes and the Indians. Boy, do I like that team idea, Swedes and Indians, two Civ favorites of mine. And then on Reveal 3, we go on Pampas Sierras, the Russians and the Swedes versus the British and the Ethiopians. Two Northern European civs against the British Mannerboom. That should be pretty interesting, right? So this is basically what we're going to have for Team A and Team B.
Looking at this choice, I mean, if anyone has played with me in the last 6 years, everyone knows my love of Great Plains and Deccan. So I am super happy to start with Great Plains. And honestly, Aztec and Ottoman on Great Plains feel very scary to me to face off against.
Oh,
USA and France is a scary duo as well. So USA definitely has some early defense, and France has some early power with the Hussar stand. So it will be interesting to kind of see how these two, teams really face off. Team A versus Team B, even in the very first matchup, this should be fun. Let's get to it. We have a lot of randomizations to do. So.
Yep, we'll move on to Team A versus Team C now. And with that, we will reveal Game 1 first. We get the Germans and the Swedes versus another Swede and the Ethiopians on Mongolia. That sounds like a pretty interesting one to me. Looks like those villagers are going to be pretty busy setting up their torps all over the map with all those wonderful mines. And now we will move on to game number 2. We get another Aztec and Ottoman versus the Ottomans and the Indians. Two Ottomans on both teams. That's going to be kind of an interesting one on Siberia. A map I'm pretty used to. Siberia can go many different directions, especially with a set of civs that loves their terrain posts so much. And then game 3, we got the Portuguese and the Japanese against the Dutch and the French on Lithuania. Kind of an interesting one, don't you think?
Yeah, I gotta say, Lithuania, I've only, personally played in 1v1 rank. To see it in team will be pretty interesting. And what I really like about Lithuania is both sides and like XP boost is, but it is nice always in a team game for both players to start with a TP. Similarly, Mongolia, the Yak start is fantastic. The gold mine and base start is great. The TP is great. Scouting is great. The natives are great. Mongolia is just a fun-filled map. Both sides get Sweden, so they kind of nullify each other. But one side gets the raiding potential of Germany, and the other side gets the insanity of Ethiopia right now.
Yeah.
So, like, once again, game one of A versus C looked pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that'll be kind of interesting to see is how, when you get a Sweden and an Ethiopia on the same team, how do you decide who puts their monasteries on which mines and which ones you save for the torps, pretty much?
True. And also, what I've seen with Sweden is that they definitely, I mean, this might not be super popular, but Sweden sometimes can put their torps near trees, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
gather some wood, even consider native tax or natives and food wood troops. There's something there, maybe. But Mongolia is just a map full of possibilities, which is what I'm excited about the most. Hello, Sekander. Love your question. Hey, what is it about? Attorney. Yes, this is a randomization for the Helter Skelter tournament. If anyone wants to read more about it, Enki, if it's alright, could you drop a link in chat for them? Enki is the mastermind behind this app. Him, Pad, and Ant are the mastermind behind this whole tournament idea. So we gotta give them a big round of applause for that. They are the ones who thought of this tournament almost, Enki, do you want to say it was 5 years ago if you want to put in chat? It's been a while, but 5 or 4 or 3, some years ago, they were like, let's just take the top players in the game and just throw them into utter chaos. Random civs, random maps, random teammates even. And let's see how that goes. Yeah, before the Africa DLC. And we did the random teams already. That process is already on our Twitch. Now today, Sekander, we're going to do the random maps and the random civs. And basically it's 5 teams, and they all play each other. So we're essentially doing the randomization for all of the matches. As you can imagine, 5 times 4 divided by 2, simple permutation combination. We're going to have 10 matches before we go into finals. Alright, take it away, Streletsky. On to the next one.
Yep. Now we're going to move on to Team A and Team D. Let's see what maps and civs they get randomized for them. So this will be game 1 for us. We get the Ethiopians and the Germans versus the unstoppable Streletsky Civ and the Ottomans on Great Plains. That sounds like a pretty spicy one if you ask me. Now we move on to game 2. We get the Swedes and the French versus the Dutch and the Chinese on Dakota. Another pretty interesting one. And now we move on to game number 3. Aztecs in Japan versus Malta and the French. Okay, so lots of interesting civ possibilities on these particular types of maps, I think. And in particular, I would say, of all these, probably the Dutch and the Chinese team on Dakota should be pretty interesting. I've casted a lot of games on Dakota when it was called Mendocino back on Legacy. And honestly, both of those civs, the Dutch and the Chinese, they always are pretty high performers on that map. Between the Chinese unit spam and the Dutch ability to mass up their banks because of the geographic advantages of those cliffs on the map. So when you put them together, I feel like they're going to pose a real risk to the Swedes and the French if they get their units together quickly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Texas is a pretty fun map. We've totally seen, what's that called? It's like when you grab 3 trade monos. We've seen trade monos be possible on Texas. Great Plains is always an incredibly fun have map. And when you've got the capability of, you gotta remind me, delis. When you've got the capable of Ottoman deli start on Great Plains versus German Ulan start, ooh, that's gonna be fun. Like, all of these matchups honestly seem pretty fun. Folks in chat, lots of good questions. Hello, Igor. Hello, Sekander. Love the engagement. Sekander, the first match will be scheduled this coming week. This whole group stage is April 26th, so tomorrow till May 23rd. They have 4 weeks for each team to play 4 matches. So, super interesting to see how this works out. Alright, so let's see, on to the next one. And if you don't mind, just hit Game 1, Game 2, Game 3 at once, and then we'll discuss it.
Sounds good to me. So now we have Team A and Team E. So we'll just click through all those. Boom, boom, boom. So we got some interesting ones here. We get an Aztec and a German team versus the Portuguese and the USA on Dakota. Then we get ourselves a Ethiopia and a Portugal versus the Dutch and Ottomans on Texas. And then finally, we get the French and the Russians in their hometown of Siberia against another team of the French and the Lakota. Already lots and lots of interesting possibilities there. Namely, Portuguese on Dakota. That's going to be an interesting one because whenever I see Portuguese playing on Dakota, they always like to set up their town centers in all 4 corners of the map pretty much, and they use the natural geography of those cliffs to sort of safeguard them a bit and then expand outwards from there. So we'll see who's able to spread out quickest on that map.
Definitely. And the biggest thing is probably to remember that these are all random, right? So these players just are discovering. Like, if a player right now is watching, they literally for the first time are seeing these civs and these matchups. And they only technically met their teammates on Sunday of this past week. So you have to imagine the amount of planning or lack of planning and almost improvisation that these players have to do. I can barely... Oh, I'm so sorry. Kaleli, am I hopefully a bit more audible? Can you hear me well, chat? I'll try to talk a little louder into the mic. So apologies, I'm on a phone, so some delays there. Not better, sorry. Okay, alright. Let's see. Can you turn me up a little, Skelter, on your side, if that's possible?
Yeah, let me turn the vol up a little bit to 4. That should be good, I think 40. Yeah.
Alright, how about now? Is there hopefully some better volume, folks? Can you guys hear me a little bit better? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, perfect. It's better. Alright, thank you so much. And thank you for speaking up. Really appreciate that, clearly. We work hard on these tournaments, and, you know, it's kind of sad if people can't even hear the person talking about it. So appreciate that feedback immediately. So anyways, all of these look good. All of these are TP maps. This randomizer loves to pick the TP maps. We do have non-TP maps in this pool, so that's kind of interesting. No water maps have also been picked, but also it's important to note, Enki, if you want to put the full original map pool, these players had a chance to ban maps, and a lot of the teams banned the water map. Yeah, exactly. The players have map bans too. So a lot of these players did not want to play water. So that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, if you're playing in a random tournament with random civs, isn't in an awkward situation and end up on the water map with a situation in deck where you're not able to boom out effectively and you end up getting stuck on your island. It's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And Grand Chaco, I don't know if that was banned, but we just haven't seen it yet. So that's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
I personally love Pomerania as a map in 1v1, but not these teams. Pomerania was one of the most banned maps. So really interesting for chat. You know, this is what the folks prefer. Um, Team A brand. Ah, that makes so much sense. Thank you, Enki. Enki's one of our epic admins for this tournament. Absolutely fantastic. All right, Streletsky, take it away. Now we move on to Team B. As you guys can tell, we're going to be doing A versus B, C, D, E. Then we're going to do B versus C, D, E. Then, you know, C versus D, E. You guys can figure it out from there. Yeah.
Alrighty then. So for Team B versus C, we got ourselves an interesting combination of Aztecs and Indians versus the Maltese and the Russians on Mongolia. That should be a pretty spicy one, I would think. And then followed by that, we got the Russians and the French versus the Ottomans and the Indians on the Yukon. That one, you know, that could have some interesting possibilities as well, considering the way the map's structured. And then finally, we get a Portugal and British versus the French and the Spanish on Pampas Sierras. Now, that one, I mean, honestly, if I consider Pampas Sierras, I feel like the British and the Portuguese have a pretty good edge on that map, because whenever I play on Pampas Sierras, you get a bit of time to sort of plan out your city structure pretty much, so I feel like for big city building civs such as Portugal and British on the same team, they're going to have a bit of a field day at the start setting up and everything, and it's going to be up to the French and the Spanish to try to upset that for them, honestly. And then going from there, I feel like, particularly on the Mongolia map, you're going to have a lot of open warfare. I think between a forward attack in India with their Agra fort and the Aztec war huts against the Russian blockhouses and whatever sort of defenses the Maltese can come up with to help their ally. Yeah, these maps are really... I feel like these maps really work good for these matchups to really see which sort of civ combination comes out on top in the end. What do you think?
Honestly, Kaleli, I just noticed his comment and I completely agree. Malta and Russia on a team together. Either Tit and Sadist are going to make something gorgeous happen out of that, or that's going to be a really tough, like, combo to work out. Because, you know, Malta loves to go crossbow, right? And so does Russia love to go Strelet. And both are food and wood. So, which player switches which? I mean, do you go Ruskets, which are pretty bad? Do you go, you know, like, Cav as Russia? Or as Malta going Order Huss is expensive?
Oh, gee,
Like,
yeah, big time.
yeah.
I mean,
It's pretty interesting. I mean, there might be some FF strategies to think about here for Team C. Team B is living life.
oh yeah.
Aztec in Mongolia, hell yeah. Just grab a yak for, you know, fertility dance if you want, XP dance, do the simple rush. India, also hell yeah. Grab yaks, get XP, aggro forward. Like, Team B has a great, versatile set of strategies and especially a strong rush. So, super keen to see Game 1 for Team C. Thank you, Kaleli. Really appreciate that vote of confidence. Very kind of you. Yukon looks really fun too. Yukon, I mean, people love Yukon. I mean, if you ever played Age of Empires 3, you know Yukon. So it's really interesting to see how some of the top team players and top 1v1 for this list play Yukon. Because, you know, we all have memories of playing Yukon with our siblings and our friends, but how do pro players play Yukon, and how do they play it in a team, and how do they play it with prize on the line? Will be interesting. All right, and you know, Pampas Sierras, same stuff. Good map. Let's keep going. We have a lot to do, so.
Yep, we got ourselves the Team B versus the Team D now. So we will generate these. 1, 2, 3. Alrighty then, so we got ourselves a British and a Japan versus the Mexicans and the Russians. And then on Game 2, we got ourselves the Swedes and Ethiopians against the French and Dutch on the Great Plains. And then finally, we get a Portugal and Russia against the Germans and United States. Now, one thing I notice about Mongolia, you kind of get a setup there for both teams where you got an aggro civ and a more defensive civ. So, really...
No, I was just about to say the same thing. Because U.S. and Portugal can do wild things on a resource and boom heavy map. And both civs have a civ that can die for them. Like Russia and Germany can just go absolutely ham on Mongolia. Like by eating yaks early or just all out rushing or just all out raiding. So I just wish we could play this in reverse. Play game 3 first, man. Because that's the one I'm instantly interested in, watching how it plays out. Game 1 will be okay. I mean, Dakota's solid. Ungar's playing Mexico. Folks in chat, how many of you have seen Ungar's stream Mexico? Just want to get a real quick poll. I know we have a small group, but has anyone seen Ungar's play Mexico?
I've seen him play the Wars of Liberty Mexico before, but not in DE.
Yeah, basically, if you have seen Ungar's play 1v1 Mexico, it's really good. I've seen his Mexico builds. Maybe I'm just super biased. I don't know. I'll call out my own bias, but I've seen him play Mexico very well. And I've seen a lot of these civs be played well by these players. I'm very interested in Optimus in Japan. Chat, if Optimus mains or loves Japan, correct me, but I have not seen his Japan yet, so that's going to be interesting. So actually, all of these are pretty interesting. Enki, I love your suggestion. We'll look at the point system and make sure that it all works out. But yeah, I really hope this one goes to game 3 for sure. All right, let's move forward. B versus E.
Yep, let's just switch off to E, and now we can show 1, 2, 3. So here we got ourselves the British and the Americans versus the Spaniards and the Lakota on Texas. Then we got ourselves the Portuguese and the Japanese against the Russians and the United States on Pomerania. And then finally, we got ourselves another Sweden Ethiopia team game against the French and the Aztecs on Great Plains. So this one, I know it's on Pomerania. That's going to be a pretty tough turtle to deal with. The Portuguese and Japan on the same team, really. That's going to be really defensive. Russia, if they have any sort of plans of going aggro from the start, they're going to have to try pretty hard to crack that shell. And then, obviously...
Yeah, honestly, sorry to cut you off there. I do want to comment on one thing. Don't you think Great Plains will be a very fight-heavy map?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to all be about map control there. You got a team that's all about, taking up those mines, those resources, against a team like the French, who... they really need to have their career to work in those natural resources, and the Aztecs, who also need those resources, trying to compete with them for it. So it's going to be warfare all over the very wide open map with very little natural defenses on it. So that's going to be a real interesting one to see.
And actually, that's a fantastic thing to bring up, because on Game 3, Team B is like team housing. And team structures, and Team E is natural, diet of paleo. So you've just got housing crisis versus paleo. I don't know, it's just interesting, right? Team E wants to eat up all the natural res fast as they can, and Team B wants to save all the natural res and have structures eat it. That's pretty wild, actually. Chat, do you guys have a favorite matchup in this? Maybe we're missing one. I think game 1 will be kind of interesting as well. Mainly because of the Spain-Lakota combination. Because, what do you do with that? In age 3, would you have Lakota go Wakinas and Spain goes Rods? Does that work? Who makes the skirms for Team E in Texas? I guess Spain could go Skirms, but they have no cards for Skirms. Yeah, clearly I agree. That combination just seems awkward. Once again, chat, this is all random. So, these players, top players, while they're used to playing the most optimized builds on the most optimized maps, the point of Helter Skelter is to throw you into the unknown, is to make you adapt to the situation, and is to prove that you are one of the best team players, no matter the civ, no matter the map, and no matter the teammate. So, this really rewards communication and adapting to the moment. Alright, let's keep going. Great job so far, Streletsy. Thank you for helping out.
Now we move ourselves on to C and D. And now we're going to show you 1, 2, 3 for each of the situations we got ourselves here. For the first one, we got the French and the Russians versus the French and the Russians on Siberia, the homeland of the Russians. So it doesn't surprise me from a historical standpoint that both teams would have Russia on Siberia.
It's like Waterloo or something. And exactly like it. I also think I don't know, it's just awesome. Alright, keep going.
And then on the second one, we got the Saxony map with the Ottomans and the Portuguese versus the Mexicans and the United States. And for that one, I would say probably just looking at that map, you're going to have some pretty interesting situations there for what both teams are going to do. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if both teams just hang back to like age 3 or 4 and do some weird FI stuff, especially with the Ottomans, because I'll be honest, I've done a lot of ranked DE games against the Ottomans. If you just leave them to their own devices, they can come out with like 10 great bombards, a bunch of Spahi, and all this weird stuff just sitting in their base if you don't do anything to them. So I feel like with having a natural barrier like a river like that and a defensive ally like the Portuguese, that might totally happen. Whilst Mexico, they can do some interesting stuff by going Central America and then popping out later with Texas Revolt. So that should be an interesting one. And then on the last one, we get the Dutch and the Spaniards on Mongolia versus the Ottomans and the Lakota. So to me, that feels like basically on the Ottoman and the Lakota side, those are literally two civs that are going to literally act like the actual Mongols, I feel like, in this situation. And then you're going to have the Spanish and the Dutch basically hiding in their little settlements, trying not to get raided too much there. So at least that's
Honestly,
the way I see it.
Like, Mongolia seems like game 3 and folks in chat, please weigh in. Otto, Lakota, Dutch, Spain is easy clap. That's what he says, Otto, Lakota. So who get? I mean, I assume Kalele, you mean that Team D is gonna crush this? Because my thought is that if Team C can somehow live past, I would say, the 8-minute mark, if they can somehow get past 8 minutes and not lose too much eco, then it's just impossible for the other team to come back. But yeah, I agree. The amount of pressure that Otto and Lakota will put is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like Dutch and Spanish on this map, you're really staring down the barrel of dealing with Genghis Khan himself in this situation, raiding cavalry from all directions, arrows flying, swords slashing. It's going to be a total mess.
Yeah, no. And Carrie, you're mentioning you like Team 3 or Team C Civ. Yeah, I mean, they like a lot of these pits. Enki knows, and actually, I mean, you can very quickly go to the player list because we've already done C versus D. We'll go back to C versus E, but if you go to the player list, Streletsy, for folks in chat, these are the civ lists that people picked, and yeah, Enki just posted the link. People can pull that up. If you notice, a lot of players picked very similar civs, but because of the randomization of this tournament, we're seeing that a lot of these matchups are so different and not at all predictable, even though the core and the base are pretty similar across all civs. So I think I love that. But yeah, alright, let's go back to the randomizer.
Yep.
And I believe we're doing C versus E, right, Enki? If you can confirm.
Correct. That's the next one
Yep.
on the list.
Perfect.
Alrighty then, so I think we're ready to see our 3 games right now. Pull these up, and from what we have here, we got the French and the Spanish versus the Ottomans and the Portuguese on Siberia. Then we got ourselves the Swedish and the Russians in Saxony versus the French and the Americans. And then finally, we have Panama, where we're going to see a Portugal and Ethiopia face off against the Spanish versus the conquest of the Spanish, pretty much, on a Spanish conquested map.
For any of the folks in chat that are longtime viewers of AoE3 tournaments, this almost feels a little sad to see Game 3 because Game 3 is a water map.
Oh.
And Keister often plays with Dawn, and everyone knows what happens when Dawn and Keister play on a water map. Keister tries to live as long as he can, and Dawn just straight booms, and it's just utter chaos until they get there. So now Keister is playing randomly with King of Osnane. Let's see what their water strategy is. We all know Aztec is a strong water civ. We know Spain can also sometimes do water, but we also know that Portugal can do water. And I have no clue about Ethiopia on water.
Yeah, that's a total mess.
Does Ethiopia have water capabilities? What do you guys think for Game 3? Exactly, and this is the only matchup to feature a water map in Panama. And I completely agree with that. Like, this is wild that this is the only water map we get, I think. Or, I don't know, I mean, we haven't seen all the other permutations yet, but, like, we're running out of permutations. We're on C, so we're gonna do D versus... Oh, no. Yeah, we just have one more.
Oh, yeah.
It's C versus D, and C versus E, and then D versus E, and that's it.
Yep, D versus E is the last one.
So far, this is the first water map we've gotten, and we're seeing Siberia quite a few times. But yeah, let's keep going.
Alrighty then, D and E. So now we will generate these ones. Alrighty, so here we got ourselves the French and the Lakota playing against the Germans and the Russians on Dakota. Then we got ourselves the Germans and the Russians in their home turf facing off against the United States and the Spanish. And then finally, for Texas, we got ourselves the Chinese and the Maltese against the Lakota and the Portuguese. Now, for the Texas game, I feel like it's another one of those situations where you got two civs that can act pretty good aggressively, China and Lakota, and then you get two sort of like campy defensive civs like the Maltese and the Portuguese. So I feel like that one's going to be pretty evenly matched, at least depending on what they're comfortable with, because not everyone's comfortable going Chinese aggro. A lot of people just prefer to go FF with them because it's the easier route, but we'll see.
This kind of confirms it. We're only going to see one water game, folks. So definitely tune into that last series for that water map, I guess, if you're a big water fan. And Kaleli in chat saying how we're going to see double cav. Do you think we're going to see all cav on Dakota? Which would be really funny, because I think there's a Cheyenne native settlement on Dakota. If Evolution's in chat, or anyone in chat knows the natives in Dakota by heart, I think we could see a full cav start. But otherwise, Germany could maybe start the Alps. But in general, we're definitely going to see Strelitz from Russia, Ulan from Germany, Lakota will... What do you think Ungers and Mini will do game 1? Yeah, he's saying Russia can't all cav, but France on that, and Lakota with Bow Rider and Axe. Yeah, I could see that. A mixed troop comp would beat up Germany and Russia fairly well. I like this so far. I like these matchups. They seem somewhat fair. There doesn't seem to be a clear winner. Oh, but actually Texas. I don't know about Texas. Streletsky, what do you think of Texas? Because China's got weak troops, Malta's got a weak start, Lakota's got a really strong Cav start, and Portugal does have a slow start. So Texas could go any way. It really depends on what King of Osmane does on Game 3 in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, honestly, Lakota's going to be the one doing a lot of the early pressure there and trying to poke and prod and see if they can get a lot of success. And we'll see if Malta, you can basically get your defenses up early, really tap into your eco bonuses, and maybe push yourself along. For China, you got to make some big decisions. Are you going to go for that risky age 2 start with your Quangs and your Chiu Canoe, or are you going to try to push it for that fast fortress and get the Chengdao and the Arquebusier? Because really, if you stick in age 2 and you're not able to get the aggression that you want with the turtling Portugal, you might find yourself behind. But if you try to go for the fast fortress situation, you might find yourself victimized by the Lakota if Malta can't get there in time to help you out, since they're not a very mobile civ at the start of the game. They're more or less worried about defending themselves in that case. So I feel like if they can defend, they might have some pretty deadly combinations later between that weak unit spam of Chinese and some of the harder hidden weapons and defenses of the Malta civ, since Malta, the longer you go through the match, the more sort of options they get between their own native troops and the different tongues that they can send through their commandery, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Chat once again clearly brings up a great point. What what does Team D do versus Organs? That's a really tough bet to fight. And I'll say this, I think it's gonna be pretty interesting to see really what the heck Game 3 turns out to be, because yes, Lakota can age fast. Yes, Portugal can try to FF, but China and Malta do have a scary turtle, and they do have just units on units on units. And the right pop, the right scenario, if you can take out 3 organs and, with some building fire, get a fixed gun up, there's something you could possibly say that if Team B can just survive, they could very much control the map. But I don't know. That's just my opinion on that one. Game 1 feels pretty fair in terms of setup. I mean, obviously, Ungers and Mini can just go double cav if they want to bully Russia, but Germany can definitely, throw in some dots among the Strelets and really, put an end to that. And the Strelets can definitely provide a lot of ranged firepower, so that'll be interesting. And very, good trades. Yeah. So, folks, we want to wrap up soon because it's, we've hit 40 minutes plus. If anyone in chat wants to stream, we're happy to raid you. We're always happy to help out the community as Royal Clan. I want to give a big shout out to you, Streletsky. Thank you so much for helping us out. And obviously to Enki, thank you so much for the rules and the setup. This is PK Shaman on the mic. Really appreciate all the work everyone's been doing on the tournament. Big thanks to Prathush for graphics help and, helping out with the tournament as well. And, Helter Skelter's coming, guys, and it's going to be fantastic. And you're going to see some great casters as well. Casters-wise, we've got Soldier as a caster, we've got Come Get Some as a caster, and, Nicias is up there as well. So we've got some good casters. And if anyone wants to help co-cast or join in some of these, tournaments, yeah, let us know. And Lopsided Fluff, I see you in the chat. I know you're a pretty good caster. Talk to me if you'd like to, be free this next month and help out with some of the games. But yeah, thanks to everyone, tuning in. Treletsky, if you want to do a quick stinger transition to the website.
Oh, back to the website again?
Yeah.
Let me see. Sure. Here we go. So, what would you like to show over here?
We'll go to the Royal Clan website for folks who are tuning in. We're revamping our clan website. going to be adding all the stuff about Helter Skelter. We're going to include all the past Royal Rumbles on here. If you don't mind going to merch on the top fourth button on the top bar. And folks in chat, sorry to make a quick plug, but if you guys can help us out, buy some merch, get something cool that says Royal Clan on it. It helps us fund the tournament. Oh, thank you, Kaleli. Thank you. The credit goes to Ants. He definitely made a pretty nice website. I'm not going to lie. And the merchandise helps us fund this tournament. The prize pool is 50 right now. And that's just me throwing up my own money for it. But if folks want to chip in a few bucks or, buy some merch and get something out of it and help with the tournament, always helpful. Really appreciate the help. And if you want to go back to the website, we can quickly show off all the rules, all the brackets, the randomization tools we use, everything we did, the player lists, their map and civ choices, all of that will be updated under that Helter Skelter 2024. So if you just want to learn more about the tournament, see how we did it, and make any suggestions for the future, feel free to reach out to me on Discord. Feel free to join the clan Discord and give some helpful tips, advice, whatever you'd like. But once again, thank you all. Really appreciate this. And Streletsy, if you have any last closing comments?
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty good tournament, I think. It'll be a first good one for me covering this for the Royal Clan. Should see a bunch of interesting civs and maps dueling each other. Went through so many interesting combinations tonight. I feel like this thing from start to finish is going to be a worthwhile watch for all of you. So if you can make it to all the streams, should be really fun. Yep, definitely.
All right. Is anyone gonna be streaming right now? Kaleli, will you be streaming, or Carrie, or Lopsided? If not, we can just raid a random. But just checking in if anyone wants a raid. Dun dun dun. We're not seeing any noise, so let me just take a quick look. We'll try a brand new random. So type JT25. You're gonna get the Royal Clan love. Oh, Zirunbeer. I can't. Yeah. Okay. Alright, well, hey. Enki picked someone. I trust Enki. Let's do it. Zirunbeer. Alright. Everyone in chat, thanks again. Feel free to reach out to us. Posted the Discord there. Posted the website there for the clan. Thanks all for the support. And Streletsy, thank you. And thank you, Enki. And have a good night, guys.